All right.
Hey. Okay.
Fix that in post.
Yeah, fix that in post. Okay. Hey everyone. So I guess we should just reintroduce the podcast at this point.
Sure. This is a great new project me and Emma are taking on called HOMO FOMO.
HOMO FOMO, you heard that right.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Well, we, being homos, often have a fear of missing out.
So true.
Because, just want to stay inside.
That, yes. Wanting to stay inside.
But I think the real existential fear that we're addressing with our title is a fear of missed opportunity. A fear of missed queer representation, if you will.
Yes. So that means that we will be focusing mostly on media.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we did try and start a podcast before.
Yes.
And honestly, it's not that we abandoned that podcast.
We just talked about the two things we knew most about.
Yeah, and then we were like, oh shit.
We need more.
Yeah, and what do we consume most of? Movies.
Yeah.
And media.
And the X-Files.
And the X-Files, which is what we're going to be talking today. So just to summarize, no homo FOMO.
No homo FOMO? The opposite.
Jesus Christ.
Pro-homo FOMO.
Okay. Pro-homo. Goddamn. Listen. Look and listen.
Your catchphrase.
Just to summarize the podcast, though, what we'll be doing is taking a look at media and how it could be queerer.
Yeah.
Basically. And, probably for me, I'm going to be in a fumbling way exploring my own queer identity.
Yay!
Through this. So it'll be really exciting. It's going to be focused mostly on TV and movies, but who knows what else will come up. Because we will incorporate some tangents in this, which was, FYI, the last podcast we started.
Now,
yeah.
Speaking of that, do we want to go by pseudonyms this time?
I want to keep Robot Girl.
Okay.
If all possible. That's what I went by in our first podcast. It has to do with a book that me and Kai... Damn it! Are you kidding me? Oh. Listen, you can call me Robot Girl, but obviously I have a public persona to some degree. Yeah. Not like a big one, but like I'm out there on the internet as Emma. Like everyone's gonna follow me as Emma.
Yeah, and you can call me #Ghostboy, but I'm actually Kai.
So, because we're not going to remember not to call each other our names.
Correct.
I mean, I'm not going to put that on you.
No, it would really take some effort. It'd be like learning a new pronoun.
Yeah.
I'd be like, Z-Faye actually didn't want that bagel. Like, I'd have to really train my brain around it.
Grind it in.
Not impossible.
No, definitely not, but difficult.
So let's just drop the guys.
Okay, so Emma and Kai, we're just living Hi, guys.
Hi, Robot Girl.
Just hi, Ghost Boy. We're just living our best lives over here. Yeah. Okay, so today specifically we wanted to talk about a specific episode of my favorite show.
Yeah, and I would say like my third favorite 90s show.
That's very specific, and it makes me actually have some FOMO, and I also want to renege and say it's probably about my third favorite 90s show.
Oh my god, so what is number 1 and 2 for you?
Well,
side tangent already.
Okay, well, Buffy.
Yes, Buffy is my number 1.
Yeah, Buffy has to be my number 1. Okay, and then X-Files.
Yeah, I mean, like, I could say Angel, but it's not actually better.
No.
X-Files
was definitely my favorite show of all time at one point in my life.
Correct.
So, but we wanted to talk about a specific episode in the X-Files that I would say is probably both of our favorite episodes.
Yes, absolutely it is.
It's called The Field Where I Died.
Yes, season 4, episode 5.
And I guess, do you want to do a summary of the episode?
Yeah, because the listeners, God knows how long it's been since they've seen the X-Files, or if they ever have.
Yeah, they took it off of Netflix.
Yeah, so we're all just really post-depressed.
Post-series depression. Did a video on it.
Yeah.
Did. Yeah.
Okay, well, favorite is a big word.
Favorite is a big word, especially with a show that has 9 seasons and like 22 episodes per season. We're not used to that anymore.
It has 11 seasons.
Right, I'm sorry. Lest I forget the reboot. Okay.
I enjoyed it, but no, you don't have to.
I mean, there's moments.
There's moments.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a fabulous episode in my opinion, and we picked it specifically because of the great potential it lends itself to for the canon of the show.
Mm-hmm.
It really rewrites the way you may think of the characters.
Yes.
And we can go into like maybe the intention of like the characters and what they would be like in the future if they continued this premise for not just a one shot, not just a monster of the week. That's going to be the episode. But for now, we got to tell you what the fuck the episode is. Oh, yeah. We're swearing.
Yeah. Oh, also spoilers for the X-Files in general, because we will be referencing probably episodes outside of The Field Where I Died. But, of course, spoilers for The Field Where I Died, which is episode 5 of season 4.
You got it.
Okay. So just a heads up. Do you want to do the summary?
Oh, why? Is it because I remember it?
Yeah, that would be great.
All right. So this episode takes place in a city in Tennessee in which the FBI is planning a raid of a cult called the Temple of the Seven Stars. The head of... Ooh.
That was my phone. Keep talking.
The head of this cult is a man named Ephesian. He has several wives, and the FBI was tipped off by someone named Sydney, who claims the cult has stockpiled illegal weapons, as well as they're abusing children. Mm-hmm. So they have enough of a warrant to invade this compound. However, there is... Is that still you?
That's my phone. I'm sorry. I'm throwing it on the bed. I'm sorry how unprofessional.
God, too popular.
Oops.
But yeah, so they're in Tennessee. They're doing this raid, and there's no one in the building, in the Temple of the Seven Stars. And Mulder experiences a moment of deja vu in which he finds a secret cellar room out in the field. And that is where Ephesian is hiding his 6 wives and some other cult members, I believe. Mm-hmm. So they are...
And himself.
Yes. So they're able to bring them into custody, and they take them into the precinct. They are interviewing them and looking for a way to keep them in custody. They have a limited time frame that they can keep someone in custody without solid evidence. Mm-hmm. So they not only interview Ephesian, they also interview one of his wives, a woman named Melissa, who's played by a lovely Kristen Cloak. Mm-hmm. Now, so Melissa is in the midst of being interviewed, in which, she's mostly covering for Ephesian, not giving much information. She's smoking a cigarette. But she does eventually have a break in what you might call, like, her personality. Exhibits signs of dissociative identity disorder, in which she mimics like a man's mannerisms. She like has a deeper voice, and as it turns out, she is Sydney. She mm-hmm. is embodying another person named Sydney. So, of course, Scully, being the rational person she is, hypothesizes that Melissa is experiencing dissociative identity disorder. Mulder, however, instinctually believes that she has had past lives that she's remembering. Now, through this investigation and through trying to get more information about this, they take Melissa to various places to try and jog her memory and see if there are, like, different people they can talk to. There are several different personalities aside from Sydney, and one of them is a woman named Sarah Kavanaugh. So she takes them out to the field where Mulder experienced deja vu and found the cellar. She explains that she witnessed Mulder in a past life dying under a different name of Sullivan Biddle.
There we go.
Sullivan Biddle. And Mulder has a very intense reaction to this, so he decides to take her to get regression hypnosis from a therapist to get more information on this. She reveals things about their past lives that they've experienced together, both Mulder's soul and Melissa's soul. So Mulder, in like an act of desperation, but also in a classic Mulder fashion of just needing to pursue the paranormal despite a very tight deadline, decides to also undergo regression hypnosis.
That's very Mulder.
It is very Mulder. He's done it before. So in this regression hypnosis, he's able to recall his past lives, in which it's revealed that not only was he Melissa/Sarah's wife.
Hold up, folks. So, little pause here. Not a big deal, and was probably obvious to you, the listener, but Kai definitely said that Mulder was Sarah's wife in this past life. Obviously, he meant to say husband. Not that it matters. this little slip went by both of us unnoticed, and I just found that really funny given the context of the podcast. But anyway, Mulder was Sarah's husband. Maybe. Back to the podcast.
During the Civil War, in this Tennessee town, he was also a survivor of the Holocaust as a woman. Mm-hmm. He was a Jewish woman, and Melissa was his husband.
Yeah.
And she got taken away to the concentration camps and killed.
By a Gestapo who turned out to be the smoking man, says Mulder.
Yeah, that was the smoking man's soul. Mm-hmm. So in that life, in both of these lives, Mulder mentions that Scully was there.
Right.
So in the life in which she was a Jewish woman, Samantha, his younger sister, her soul was in his son. Oh,
his
this
son.
Is so confusing.
This is where it gets a little, and maybe we can get into that in more detail.
But what's important from this revelation is Scully has been with him in every life.
Yeah.
Scully has been his father in the life where he was a Jewish woman, mm-hmm. and Scully was his sergeant during the Civil War.
Yes.
And her being a strong masculine figure consistently in his life strikes me as so important and interesting.
And I cannot wait to get into that.
Yes.
Because that to me is really the crux of Scully's character, to a degree, in the overall show. But I love how they talk about it in this episode.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the story does progress after Mulder has these very hard revelations and ends up, crying because of his mourning of these past lives and the times that he wasn't able to spend with Melissa mm-hmm. when they were in love. Ephesian, the cult leader.
With that hell of a last name.
Yeah, Ephesian is his theoretical name.
Mm-hmm. Theoretical.
Ephesian and his cult members get released because they don't have enough evidence to hold him. They go back to the compound, and there is going to be a secondary siege for whatever reason. I don't know. I can't remember.
Skinner got some kind of permission or something.
Yeah. Skinner, the Skin Man, hops in.
Skin Man did it.
And the cult is already armed and firing at the FBI while the remaining members are drinking the literal Kool-Aid.
So many cult influences in that.
Yeah, there's...
You got Jonestown, you got the Waco siege.
Yeah. It's very intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And then it pretty much ends with Melissa does pretend to drink the Kool-Aid, but Ephesian catches her and forces her to drink. Mulder goes off half-assed and charges into the building while they're
space cowboy he is,
while they're in the midst of a shootout, and decides that he's going to try and save Melissa on his own. He fails. He finds her and Ephesian dead side by side. And the ending is the same poem as the beginning, which I'm going to be honest, I don't remember. His delivery wasn't that great.
It was just a little thing for David Duchovny to do, because we all know he was very excited to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's reading a poem and he's looking at photos he's found of his old soul and her old soul.
Sullivan and Sarah.
Yes.
Yes.
Old Sully and Sarah Bear.
Yeah.
He finds, photos of them in the county records. He stands in a field with them. He does a sad monologue.
And and this is the most astounding part of the entire episode, I think we see David Duchovny drop a tear.
We do.
He acts, folks.
Yeah. Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought? And apparently, because we just skimmed the Wikipedia. Full disclosure, I have the Wikipedia open right now for this episode, just in case. I know Wikipedia isn't 100% accurate because anyone can edit it. But
anything to jog our memory.
Listen, it's millennial accurate. I'll take it. It's information that I will take because I'm lazy and I don't want to go further. But anyway, it was said that the writers James Wong and Glenn Morgan, thank you, did write this episode to showcase Kristen Cloak's acting abilities, which obviously I think were oh my God, she really out of all the guest stars they had on that show, and they had Bryan Cranston, they had
Lucy Liu.
Brad Dourif, Lucy Liu, really stellar bit pieces, but Kristen Cloak really was memorable.
Honestly.
Yeah, but they wrote it for her, but they also wanted to push David Duchovny's acting abilities, which was bold of them. Because who knows if he could have done it.
I mean,
the jury's still out.
Just drag him.
I mean, I feel like I have full permission to drag David Duchovny because I was so obsessed with David Duchovny.
Yeah.
As a 19-year-old who watched all 9 seasons on Netflix in a month. June was a weird month in 2015 for me, and Netflix was there.
It was there.
And the X-Files was there, and David Duchovny interviews were there. So I will drag David Duchovny mercilessly.
You deserve it. You've earned it.
He deserves it.
He does.
You know.
We love him, but he does.
Yeah. So, this is the way.
Now, this just occurred to me. This is one of many times in which the showrunners low-key mentioned that David Duchovny is Jewish. So Mulder...
Yes.
Yeah. Mulder canonically is not Jewish.
Really?
That we know. We don't know.
Right.
It's never mentioned. He's never worn a yarmulke. He's never mentioned a bat mitzvah. None of this comes up.
Culturally Jewish, maybe.
Maybe, but we it's never said.
Yeah.
But third parties or just weird circumstances always hint that he is Jewish. Bryan Cranston's character later in the series, or earlier, God knows.
Who keeps track?
Yeah, says like really bigoted things to him and accuses him of being Jewish. There's an episode that has to do with a golem, which is a clay...
Yeah, that's a Jewish folklore monster.
Yeah. There's an
golem,
episode,
I believe.
Yeah, a golem. There's a golem, and in that episode they do encounter like anti-Semitic people, and they assume Mulder is Jewish. And now this episode, in a past life, he's been Jewish.
Yeah.
And David Duchovny is Jewish. But yeah, so I don't really have anywhere to go with that other than that it usually makes me uncomfortable that they find a reason for someone to be anti-Semitic at David Duchovny's character.
Yeah, it does almost seem like this weird
inside joke.
And it's was David Duchovny responsible for that? I know he had a great deal of influence in the X-Files.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about that because I want to talk about his sexuality, obviously.
Well, that's the point of the podcast.
Yes. Not David Duchovny specifically, but just he obviously did have an influence on his character's mannerisms, and I think that there's an inconsistency in the way that he theoretically expresses his sexuality and the way that it actually manifests. But we'll get into that.
Okay, so I guess we'll start at the top of what we want to tackle. Mm-hmm. So do we want to get into immediately the gender fluidity of the past lives?
I do. I really do.
Okay.
I do. So this episode was so fundamental to me understanding the X-Files because already, we've experienced 4 seasons of the X-Files at this point. Mm-hmm. We have thoughts and feelings. We have opinions.
Oh, yes.
We're full of them.
Tons.
But it's so clear that I can't presume to know the intentions of the creators, but it seems so clear to me that Scully was written the way as well thought out as a male character traditionally would be. Mm-hmm. But she never lost, it didn't feel like she was compromising or overcompensating. Never.
It felt like she was completely on equal footing to Mulder at all times and vice versa. And I really don't feel... there's maybe in a traditional sense, in a sense that might be outdated in a few years, there was a masculine quality to both of them.
Yeah.
Just given the nature of their jobs and how they've traditionally been masculine. Law enforcement has traditionally been masculine. So there might be an old-fashioned sense of masculinity to both characters.
Yeah.
But ultimately, gender doesn't feel like a big part of either of their identities.
Their relationship really does seem like it exists in a genderless bubble. And that is so clear in later episodes where you see how others gender Scully. And I think a great example of that is the body switch episode.
Yes.
Season 6 is my favorite season, and there's a 2-part episode in which Scully and Scully does not body switch. Mulder body switches with someone who is part of the Men in Black, quote unquote.
Yes.
And in that episode, that man who body switches with Mulder is just a complete misogynistic pig. He literally, like, he talks down to Scully. He makes decisions without consulting her. He slaps her ass at one point and then eventually, like, invites her to his house for a date and to hook up.
Yeah.
And this is where Scully realizes that this is not Mulder.
Yeah, and it's so accentuated that this is the defining difference between Mulder and other men.
Yeah.
It's really funny to me, actually.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was such a lovely little intention they put into writing his character that they deliberately stripped him of most toxic masculinity.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I'm not saying he doesn't have his pig-headed moments. Like, he obviously...
Yeah. David Duchovny bleeds through, as he would.
He obviously does, but I find that with Scully, if he is ever, even in the earlier seasons, talking down to her, it's not because he doesn't believe she is capable. It's because, one, he knows that she was sent to spy on him. And two, he understands that she's a skeptic and he believes he knows better. But this is the way he talks down to all people about his beliefs.
Yeah, because... I mean, that's a whole other episode, but
Yeah.
we're not going to elaborate on this. I'm just going to say that we both believe that Mulder is an incapable psychic.
Correct.
A lucky psychic,
Yes.
actually, is what I'll say. But that's another episode entirely.
It really is.
Yeah. So it's really interesting to see how they interact as complete equals, and I think that so perfectly ties into how Scully has manifested all through Mulder's entirety on Earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just, like, reaching back. Now, granted, I don't want to get into a space where people think that I'm like, ooh, I love that Scully was Mulder's dad. I don't want any sort of...
Yeah,
I don't want any... No smut, no fanfic about that. I don't want it. I just think it's interesting that them developing as souls in this very existential bubble world of their own, the cluster of souls that keeps gathering, that she's continuously maybe I shouldn't say father figure, a masculine figure of authority.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, when we were rewatching some of the episodes recently, I was, like, taking little notes, and all of my notes kind of center around how funny it is that, like, Scully is definitely this fairy man's protector. Because that's what, he's like this little fairy dancing through the woods. Mulder really is. And, like, Scully is his bodyguard. She's his 5'2" bodyguard.
Literally, Mulder cannot win a fight.
No.
He can never win a fight. But like, Scully can't lose.
Okay. I, like, literally flashback all the time to when we were watching the Mothman episode.
Oh my god! My favorite episode ever. I already love Mothman.
So fucking good. The Mothman episode where Scully falls down a hole.
Yeah.
And injured Mulder, rather than staying up on solid ground,
Yeah.
like, hears someone approach and gets spooked and decides to jump in the hole with Scully because he's too afraid to stand by himself without her.
Correct. I should also point out that at this point, he already has, I believe, a broken arm. And he risks breaking his legs rather than fend for himself.
And this is why their relationship to me is so endearing. I know people go on about their chemistry and their sexual tension, but I
have things to say about that.
I know. I think we both do.
Yeah.
I think we really both do, as the people who love to bust down traditional attraction and romantic relationships. I really find that to be obviously secondary.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's not there. I don't think that they're an asexual couple or something. But obviously it is not what is priority in their relationship. Which I know in classic 90s TV format, they did that on purpose to drag out sexual tension to keep the audience in the will they won't they. But if you take it into a modern context, it ended up being so much more meaningful, and I don't think that was intentional on the writer's part. But their relationship to me is like, well, so described by this past life experience that Mulder goes through. And Scully being his dad feels like really... Because I think that their relationship absolutely could be void of any sexuality.
Absolutely. They're there for for each other for so long. And it's actually very good that I'm doing this with Emma, because Emma was there with me the entirety of me watching the show. I just decided wholeheartedly to watch the entire series in a small period of time, probably also a month. And I met up with Emma through those parts. So at first you saw me being like, I'm waiting for them to get together, but also I need to wait. I want to wait because they're not on equal footing yet.
Yes, because Mulder was so buffoonish and kind of seemed like her child.
Yes, she was very much the rolling eyes, I have to take care of you. Like the older sister, older sibling, or even just like mother.
Yeah, or a dad.
Yeah. Whereas like Mulder is a little boy.
Yes, very much
so. There's so much of that series. He's so helpless and naive.
Yeah, but lucky, as we've said. So weirdly lucky.
So fucking lucky.
There's no world in which Mulder should be right about anything.
No.
Except for this bizarre X-Files world, in which case he must be a lucky...
shitty psychic.
Yeah, a shitty lucky psychic.
Yeah.
Because there's no other... Like, Scully is right.
Yes.
Like, she is right all the time, but she's not. And it's confounding every time.
Yeah, but no, I fully agree. Back to your point of them having an asexual relationship is possible, and totally... Like, I loved their relationship forming even when they clearly weren't on equal footing, because there was still a mutual respect, and they took care of each other so much. The Mothman episode is a great example, because someone who probably to the layman, to any man watching in the 90s, could look at David Duchovny and be like, the picture of masculinity. He's in a suit. He's classically handsome. Shush.
Sorry.
He's getting in the action. He's being brave. He's confident in his words. He's standing up for what's right, or whatever, standing up for what he believes.
Truth, justice, and the American way.
Yes, you could look at that and be like, wow, what a classic man's man. But in the Mothman episode, he gets injured severely.
Yes.
He can't fend for himself, and he has no problem giving that like power and trust to Scully.
Yeah, I mean, we see that happen pretty immediately in their relationship.
Yeah. Just time after time. And, like, in that episode specifically, like, he lies down in her lap.
I don't want to wrestle.
Yeah. a quote from that episode. But, like, yeah, he lies down in her lap and, like, lets her take care of him. Not even lets. Like, he doesn't... It's not... There's no resistance. There's none.
Everything comes so wildly naturally to them.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that is just the spookiness, pardon me, of David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson, I think. That they've talked about too. Like Gillian saying that in one interview I watched, she was like, people keep harping on our chemistry. Like, what's the secret almost to our chemistry? Like, we can manufacture it. She's like, we can't. Like, it's just there. It would be there even if there were no cameras. It would be there if we were, what did she say, in the middle of the woods or on a Hollywood lot. Like, it's just there all the time. It was just lucky casting, I think, a little bit too.
Oh, bless.
But man, did it translate into a fascinating relationship to watch on TV.
Yeah. So the idea that they've been different genders, now this didn't strike me as odd for Scully, obviously.
She's very fluid seeming.
Yeah, Scully does not seem gendered to me in a lot of ways. So her being different genders in past lives doesn't strike me as odd. Although I will say, for whatever reason, and this could just be me, later in the series, in the reboot 10 and 11, I have the opinion that she becomes more feminine, just slightly more feminine in her, like, when she's aging. I don't know why. Maybe that was Gillian Anderson's influence.
I think she did lose the character a little bit, because she was saying she did struggle to get Scully back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do. I think I agree with you.
Yeah, I really don't know why. Nothing to do with styling. I mean, maybe it's impossible not to be influenced by mine eyes.
Yeah, she had longer hair or whatever.
I guess. Yeah. It was a wig, and I think she had trouble adjusting to that.
Yeah.
As she talked about in an interview.
Yeah, she was blonde when they filmed.
Yeah. But I want to hear your thoughts on David Duchovny / Mulder's potential femininity.
It's definitely, like you said, not as obvious as Gillian Anderson / Scully's fluidity. He did seem so boyish.
Yeah.
So that felt more gendered, but it was young, right? Like, it was like very weirdly young. Maybe that's just a thing with like like straight seeming dudes. I don't know. They're just very immature seeming.
I'm sorry, I just had a revelation in which I was like, what if Mulder is undoubtedly a boy? We're really getting to an existential topic if we decide to go into this, but what if Mulder is a man no matter what, and in that past life where he was someone's wife, he was actually a trans man anyway?
I actually like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that I forgot to disclaim this too. I know we're very far into the podcast, but we are going to take a fanfic kind of approach as well. Because, again, it's HOMO FOMO, and we're just filling in the blanks here, people. What if? It's a big part of, we love to theorize, and we will get very existential.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah, that's our job.
Yeah, I actually feel like, now, I don't know if he was so strongly gendered to me that I couldn't fathom him being another gender in a past life.
Yeah. No, you're not that close-minded.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's of my opinion that if past lives are indeed a real thing, that of course we wouldn't be the same gender through all of that. To me, that seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I would say that this would probably be the first time in a long time Scully was in a female form. And like with a female energy.
Ooh.
And for Mulder, I would say, yeah. Well, I think that the past life that he would be most connected to would be the one where he was Sullivan. Yeah. That would be the most recent one. So maybe there's still like leftover masculine energy from that.
Maybe.
But he definitely doesn't seem quite as fluid. But I still wouldn't say that, like, no way, he's just so masculine. I think there is a femininity to Mulder.
Yeah.
For sure. What it is exactly, I'm not sure.
I mean, I really couldn't say either. I think it's very open-ended in the sense of, like, androgyny.
Yeah.
Like, Mulder, again, he was written in the 90s. He was written by men for men.
Very much, yes.
Yeah, but that, for some reason, doesn't change the fact that he just comes off as, a nice person who's crazy.
Yes.
But like he's
in
so
a lovely way.
Yeah, like he's kind and gentle with kids. There are a few very bad episodes around like sexual assault, but there is one that I really like that sticks in my memory. Not that I like sexual assault. I like this episode.
How they handle it.
Yeah, in which goodness, I should have remembered this, but I didn't know I'd be talking about it. There's an episode where Mulder strongly takes the side of the victim, and it's someone who is cyclically connected to a child that's been kidnapped because she was kidnapped by the same man a decade earlier.
Right, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, right. Mulder is fiercely protective of her not being treated as a suspect and like strictly as a victim, and to never have that questioned.
And surprisingly untoxic for the time.
Exactly. And definitely, I'm not going to say out of character for him, but just it seemed like such a strong stance to take with such little information, and I was very happy about it.
I wonder if we could trace that to Anita Hill, because I know Anita Hill was happening in the 90s.
Yeah.
I wonder if one of the writers was inspired by that and infuriated by that.
Maybe.
Because, I mean, they're artists. There's got to be good ones in there. There's got to be human people that were writing for the X-Files. I know, like, Vince Gilligan, it was one of the head writers, and he's one of my favorite writers, and I find that he writes very interesting female characters. Skylar was my favorite written character on Breaking Bad, and her sister, who, forgive me, her name just escaped me, but, like, was a very interesting, neurotic character. Not that he's the best at writing female characters, but he's definitely better than like most men, I would say. So like I don't know if Vince wrote
low
that
bar
episode. Yeah,
anyway,
I don't know if he wrote that episode that you're referencing.
Who knows?
But
we could have Googled it.
We didn't. But we didn't know we were going to be talking, and that's why tangents kind of bleeds into this as well. Hashtag tangents. I
don't even know if I let you finish your opinion on Duchovny's / Mulder's femininity, because I just got in there with being like, but what if a trans man?
I mean, I like that. I don't, obviously, like, statistically speaking, that's likely.
Yeah.
So I would think, I mean, we only got 2 past lives.
Yeah.
Which, okay, so I'll summarize really quickly how I feel about Mulder's femininity. One, I think David Duchovny can't act. So I don't think that there's any intention in his performance, but I do think that David Duchovny, though not an unproblematic man, I wouldn't call him an unproblematic man, he's subtle. He's subdued, obviously. There's been many jokes made about how fucking subdued he is. I like one tweet that was like, was like David Duchovny hits huge blunt. Then the next line was like, all right, guys, let's do some acting.
Shit.
And I was just like, yeah, accurate. So I think that, like, his inherent lack of passion and, like, virile masculinity or whatever the fuck you'd want to call it.
Yeah.
Translates into us seeing him as being, like, it's malleable.
Yeah.
Like, he could be more feminine.
That's so true. Malleable's the right word.
Yeah. So, and I think everybody has, like, masculine and feminine traits, obviously. So, like, I think that he's probably a little bit closer than the average male character to having more femininity. Mm-hmm. So that's my summary.
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, I just was searching for an opinion.
Oh, okay.
Because, I mean, I realize this is not the same thing, but I would like to see his character on Twin Peaks.
Oh my God.
We're going to acknowledge right off the top, we know that men shouldn't play trans women.
Absolutely not.
But in 1990, whatever the fuck.
It was early-ish 90s.
It happened, and I guess he did a good job.
Now, listen, I'm not known for my memory. That's Kai. He has the superpower memory.
I try.
So I'm sure there were problematic things within. I mean, it's inherently problematic given that a man played a trans woman. A woman. That is just... I don't like it when men play women. But I don't recall any horrible transphobic jokes.
I mean, I talked about it recently with a big Twin Peaks fan.
Okay.
And apparently, for the time, which, like, I know is a dated phrase, but still, it was apparently good in the sense that the people who you were supposed to like accepted this character, and the people you weren't supposed to like did not accept this character.
Yes, and in the reboot of Twin Peaks, I know we're not talking about Twin Peaks right now, I apologize, but again...
David Duchovny.
David Duchovny makes an appearance with the same character in the reboot of Twin Peaks, and they give her a lot more fight.
Ooh. They
make her a bit more aggressive. She is now, like, running the FBI, I think, which I love the tie-in to that they made her part of the FBI. I mean, obviously, Twin Peaks has an FBI agent as the main character as well. But, yeah, so David Duchovny actually, in my opinion, coming from a woman's point of view, I thought that his impression of a woman was not offensive.
Yeah.
So, because that's, like, a big gripe I have with men playing women, is that they do a very offensive impression of a woman, usually with, like, a very overly exaggerated, like, high voice or whatever. And no, David Duchovny, again, don't know if it's because he can't act. It might be because he can't act and he can only be David Duchovny, and that is just a very subdued person.
I like that.
Yeah, but I thought that it was not a terrible... If a man is going to play a woman, it wasn't the worst case scenario.
Well, I mean, as a trans person, I'll give it a swing. I'll let you know my opinion.
I would love to hear your hot take. Obviously, it is going to be somewhat trash.
Yeah, but I still am interested. Like, I think David Duchovny is an interesting actor. There are some actors out there that I'm just, like, drawn towards, like magnets. And I'll just watch all of their work no matter what. I'm not saying I have good taste. I'm just saying it's...
Who's saying that about any of us?
I'm just saying it's gonna happen.
Right.
So I'll give it a swing. I've been told it's a great TV show. It's clearly heralded as one of the best, so...
You kind of remind me a little tiny bit of Coop.
Aww.
So I think that would be really interesting.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. Coop is the best character on television, so very much. But he's just, like, pleasant and very smart and has a great memory and, like...
Ooh.
And it's very, like... He's just, like, practical and just lovely.
All right.
Like, I feel like he's a perfect mix. I'm so sorry. I'm going to stop talking about Twin Peaks.
Okay.
That's another episode. So sorry, guys. So sorry. We're back on track.
Part 2. Queerness.
Queerness.
All right. So I want to talk about those characters being attracted to people of the same genders in the current timeline.
Okay.
There may not be a lot to talk about, but I have 2 examples for each of them.
Go off.
So, for Mulder, I think his chemistry with Krychek is undeniable.
I ship that so hard.
There is literally a scene in the series in which Krychek gets, decides to be on their side, gives Mulder a gun, like, triumphantly shouts and kisses him on the cheek.
Oof.
That was great.
Love it.
And then there's, for Scully, I will say this. I find Scully's taste in men baffling, but what else is
I
new?
know. That doesn't make sense with her character.
She's attracted to older men in... I shouldn't even say she's attracted to. We don't see her ever be attracted to a man, really.
Oh.
Except for, like, that one episode where she hooks up with a guy with the possessed tattoo. Spoilers.
Oh my god, I completely forgot about that episode.
It's a pretty good episode, honestly. But we see at least 2 instances of her being attracted to men who had positions of power over her, and just that kind of inappropriate age difference, considering her age at the time.
It just doesn't seem like her character to me.
Right, so those are the men she's into, and then, like, Mulder, unfortunately for her. And
oh god.
But there are a few episodes where Scully definitely she's vibing with some women.
Well, we do know that Gillian Anderson is bi.
Yeah, and I think that translates really well.
I mean, okay, can we just acknowledge, for all of the queer femmes out there, I just want to see you right now, that we all came to realize, I might be a little gay when we watched Gillian Anderson on The X-Files.
Correct.
Kate McKinnon has that great story of how it was kind of like, it was Scully.
Yeah.
It's always been Scully.
Obviously.
She's so hot.
She is.
She's just so hot.
That Stephen King episode where she goes to Maine on vacation and wears a baby tee.
Oh, that little Maine baby tee.
And then puts a blazer over it anyway.
Wow.
Anyway.
Yes.
So, an episode that Gillian Anderson wrote.
Which is one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah. About, like, memory and coincidences and things like that. She may not have written it, but she definitely directed it.
Yeah, I just like anything that she's heavily involved in.
Yeah. The episode almost exclusively revolves around Scully, and it is the first episode in which we see a lesbian couple. So...
Coincidence?
Who's to say? So, Mulder has her going on some sort of goose chase where she has to fax some paperwork from a temple to him somewhere. Garbage. But... she ends up having, like, a kind of confrontational conversation with this person she's picking up documents from based on her beliefs. Basically, she thinks that this woman's beliefs are, like, wishy-washy garbage, and, like, she's just, like, doing crystal healing for the money. Like,
wow.
That's just a vague thread of what that is. But, like... Scully's in a place as a non-believer that she's going to rub up against those types of beliefs in any way.
Yeah.
But she, for whatever reason, she decides to come back to apologize, which is not something I really see Scully do much. She isn't often in a position where she's wrong and feels the need to make amends with a stranger that she told off.
Yeah.
Like, the people she's usually telling off are men who won't listen to her when she's right. So the fact that she decides to go back to apologize to this woman is already kind of interesting. But she ends up having, like, a long conversation about, like, the benefits of, like, alternative medicine of all things. And this woman, as it turns out, has a long-term partner or possibly a wife.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't legal back then.
Yeah. Well, she had a long-term partner that she lived with, and they kiss in the background on screen, I believe. And yeah, I just got some vibes between Scully and this woman. I was like, I think it's weird that you went out of your way to find her again after you had a disagreement about something that theoretically doesn't matter. This is also in an episode where she finds out a professor she once hooked up with, who was having an affair with, that broke up his family, is dying, and he came back to DC to be with her.
Oh god, so why? No. Oh god. Yeah.
It's bad.
It is bad.
But she uses this woman's advice to try and heal him, I guess.
Well, yeah, and that's a whole other... I mean, we're dragging in a lot of other episodes. We did say we were going to be dragging in the overall
we're getting too into
X-Files.
it. Basically, I think they both have exhibited attraction to other people, and I haven't really made a case for that for Mulder, but I think Mulder is...
Krychek and him are hot and heavy.
Yeah, they
Sorry.
They hate fuck. I'm just saying.
Definitely.
They for sure hate fuck.
Yeah.
Opinions, thoughts, and feelings.
Opinions, thoughts, and feelings. It is unfortunate how far we have to stretch.
It is.
The reality, but of course... I don't think it's realistic for any character, or like I said on Twitter the other day, let me just say that sentence again, actually, because I don't think actual words came out of my mouth. Like I said on Twitter the other day, I don't believe in straight people.
Okay.
So I don't believe that Scully and Mulder, in my mind's eye, no, of course they're not straight. That's stupid. Who would think that Scully's straight? I'm sorry. Who doesn't give a fuck about the pantsuit that they're wearing as much as Scully? That is big bi energy.
You're so right.
I'm like, just no.
Just exuding it.
And I definitely, like, I have my gripes about Krychek. I know this is, again, a little bit of a tangent. Just because I think he was slightly queer-coded.
Why?
Because he was the one initiating, like, the little kiss with Mulder. And, like, they kiss on the mouth at one point, don't they? If I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. I thought it was the cheek, but I could have been... I can't imagine I wasn't paying enough attention. I don't think I could have been paying more attention.
Yeah.
But...
So if maybe it was just the cheek... Maybe again, because I did misremember the entire baseball episode.
Well, that's a different...
Yeah. They don't handle race well on the X-Files.
Never.
Other episode. Also, we're not people of color, so maybe not our place to talk about it, but I will mention that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like there was where he's supposed to be kind of this morally gray character and mostly on the side of malevolence. The fact that he, like, would be a little bit more flamboyant or, like, it's a bit Jafar. You know what I mean?
Yo, that's real. He never wore eyeliner to my memory, but
God,
I wish.
don't I wish. Oh, my God,
I wish. We're sitting here criticizing queer coding and then being like, oh, but if only he was more.
Well, because Jafar is the best character in Aladdin, so I just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't. But yeah, anyways, I do think there was actually, unfortunately, more palpable big gay energy on Mulder's part, and because of Krychek.
Okay. And now that we're on Mulder, I do want to talk a little about how David Duchovny is famous for having a sex addiction, which Asterix was a porn addiction. Yeah,
same thing. I kind of feel
guess
like maybe I don't know.
But the point is that bleeds into his character a little in which he makes inappropriate jokes, which I don't think are inherently offensive, just like weird, horny jokes.
He is always watching porn.
Yeah, and not jerking off.
Which is so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, also, trigger warning sex. We're going to be talking about sex.
Sorry,
we don't want to be doing it, but here we are. But Mulder is also notoriously and noted as a hermit who does not date and who does not have sex. And also, when he's so chaste when it comes to his interactions with, like, Scully. And he refers to sex as making love when he's in earnest.
Fucking holy shit, though.
Yeah.
Like, and that is why, going back to gender, Mulder definitely does have a boyish quality, but he's definitely more feminine than most male characters, I would say.
And I'm not going to attribute it to gender, but I just always think it's interesting. This is going to get into the fan fiction now. You know how in the after the 5th season there was the movie, and then there's the big deal where there's the almost kiss. There is a like behind the scenes gag reel in which Gillian Anderson throws David Duchovny against the wall and starts aggressively making out with him.
I love her.
Which is really funny, but also how I imagine their sex to be.
Oh, she's a top.
Yeah.
Full on.
Yeah, because in almost all situations where they're incredibly intimate in the same bed together, cuddling, kissing, or whatever, Mulder is, like, very soft, gentle, and I'm not going to say submissive because we don't actually see that much, but she's definitely the one initiating. He's letting her go first.
She's his protector.
Yeah. And he's just, I just think he's really gentle about something you would expect him to be so gross about.
Yeah, which is another way of just, like, what a relief to watch a male character who, you're right, there is some, like, kind of like, like, jokes that he'll make or whatever, but for the most part, his attitude towards sex is incredibly gentle and, like, not this gross aggressive thing that we're so used to seeing masculine leads portrayed. So, that's definitely... I mean, like I said, I would definitely see him as just being, like, a gentle boy.
Yeah.
Like a gentle B-O-I.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Like a boy.
Boy.
A boy.
Boy. Soft boy.
Soft boy. Yeah.
So then I guess we can take it to can I talk about what I want to see?
Oh my god, absolutely, please.
So the fan fiction portion of this being, here is how this could have gone down.
Let's get it. Yes,
so
okay.
we see obviously Mulder's memory regression. Where is Scully's memory regression therapy? Where is it? There easily could have been a part 2 in which there's a continuation of this where, like, Scully, even though they're working through another case, in the back of her mind is being like, what if? What the fuck was that? What did I feel? What did I remember? Like, I want to know. I'm not sure if at this point in the series she has undergone memory regression therapy before, because there is some trauma with her being abducted and her trying to remember and having a bad experience with memory regression, in which she, I think, holds hands with Mulder for the first time in the series.
Aw, so cute.
But I really would love if there was a part 2 to this episode in which she decides she wants to know more about it, and she actually has access to those memories. And, like, I think, and then this is where it gets into Melissa. So Melissa being the character who experiences all those different personalities, but completely separately. Melissa is not a person who has a long-reaching memory. She can embody the personalities and the memory of her old lives separately. And they don't share a consciousness, really.
Yeah.
Which is honestly similar to dissociative identity disorder from what I understand. Like, they're being protector personalities and they don't necessarily always share a memory.
Yeah. Hence the dissociative part.
Yes. Yeah. But with Mulder, he was able to remember those lives and still speak in a different tense, even though he was referencing himself. So if he is capable of remembering those past lives, I want to see would Scully's personality change if she had access to those memories? Would her interactions with him change? And what we as the viewer, I would like to see is the sexual tension between Sullivan Biddle and his sergeant.
Oh, drop the bomb. Okay, folks, listen. He did not tell me he was going to take it there. And, oh, man, that is a story. Holy Well, how does that make us feel about Scully being his dad, though?
That does not. The way that I see it, that's the furthest memory of theirs, right?
Right, yeah, that's the furthest one down the line.
Yeah, that's the furthest one down the line. That's their first life together, as far as we know.
As far as we know, which I do. Now, also, I do want to just mention that according to the Wikipedia, there's 18 minutes of this episode that got cut.
Tragic.
Which we explored Melissa's 2 other identities that never got brought into the final cut of the episode.
And the person who plays Melissa, Kristen Cloak, big ups. You actually researched dissociative identity disorder, and you based the personalities on people you actually knew.
Yes, good for you, Kristen Cloak.
You didn't create, like, what you thought a crazy person's personality would be like.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, and it shows. It shows in her performance. So genuine, so incredible.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as somebody who's never experienced DID, I can't speak to the precise sensitivity of that performance.
Yeah.
But as somebody who is very openly struggles with a lot of mental health stuff, I found it completely wonderfully handled.
Yeah.
If that is indeed, I mean, and two, it's ambiguous of whether it is DID or if it is past lives.
But even if it were DID, this and fucking X-Files is notorious for its open-ended endings.
Oh God, they love it.
Even if it was DID, this is a change in representation from the mainstream, because Melissa is not the aggressor. She is not the abuser. She is the whistleblower. She is the one attempting to get help.
Yes.
Like, Sydney is the personality that's trying to take care of not just Melissa, but also the other people in the compound, and who feels, like, intense sympathy for them. Melissa is not her personalities are not causing her to do bad things.
Yes, unlike Split.
Yes.
Which I'm not going to go into Split, but yes, that's very true. Yeah. So yeah, just hats off 100 times to Kristen Cloak.
Yeah.
But what you said about the sexual tension between Sullivan and the sergeant, a.k.a. Scully and Mulder, boy, would I just love to see them be a gay couple.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, if they just gave us one episode. Just one episode.
I know. And I honestly, like, it's so easy for me to create drama in that sense. Because, like, first of all, I think it's an interesting acting challenge. This is full of acting challenges for people. I think it would be an interesting acting challenge to see, try and find two men that, like, so well replicate any sort of chemistry or personality that David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson are already putting out there.
Oh my god, yeah.
Trying to find people that can already do that, and then they're Southern, and then they're, like, army buddies. Not just buddies, but, like, one is, like, the superior.
Yeah.
And then you can also throw in the drama of, like, Melissa, a.k.a. Sarah Kavanaugh. She is technically his wife, I believe.
Or his long-lost love of some degree.
Yeah,
or
so
something.
is he pining for her? Does he not know that she has found him? Has he moved on? Does, like, he believe she's dead? Is, like...
Well, from what we know, Melissa, or Sarah, as she was in this life, I think that oh god, I actually can't remember if they were married and he went to war and then he died on the field and she found him and, like, held him in his last moment.
Sounds that.
It's either that or she was, like, a medic.
Yes.
Yeah,
Could have been both.
Which is a very, I mean, played out story of the medic soldier
Florence
thing.
Nightingale.
Yeah. Anyway, but the whole thing about this is that they're star-crossed, right?
Yeah.
Melissa and Mulder are completely star-crossed and they never get time together.
Yeah.
They, like, very briefly intersect in every life. So, like, obviously his main support then is Scully.
Yeah.
Obviously his real true love is Scully.
Yeah.
Because she's the one who's there. And I think that matters.
Yeah.
Like, Romeo and Juliet's all lovely and fine. I love the Baz Luhrmann movie, but I'm kind of over star-crossed.
Yeah.
If it's not there, if it's not tangible, if it's not something that someone can actually count on, like, no, it's not romantic, this long distance thing.
Yeah.
And that's really existentially long distance.
Yeah.
So that's maybe a little beef I have with the whole plot line. But yeah, I think that Scully would be his true love, obviously. So yeah, I think him and the sergeant's relationship is really what's of interest.
And what does their relationship look like when Scully is overtly in charge of him? Does she she treat him with the same respect, or does she condescend him?
I would say absolutely.
But to both?
No, sorry, to the first one.
So so regardless of the fact that she's in a position of power over him, she still treats him as an equal.
I think that, to me personally,
important
is their relationship.
Correct.
I don't think you have Scully and Mulder without full equality.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think like that is the mainstay. I think sexual tension comes and goes. I think maybe even like proximity comes and goes. But I think the one thing that makes them like soulmates or like souls that cluster together is the fact that they are complete equals.
Yeah.
That's just like my very like emotional take on it.
No, I think that's perfect.
So overall, what we would have liked to see is Scully's regression.
Yeah.
Can't agree with you more.
Yeah.
I would love to see all the ways Scully was probably short, fierce man.
Yes.
We think, of course, like gender fluidity is just given.
Yeah.
I think that we could actually revisit the X-Files and talk more about gender fluidity if that's something, because I think that is really prominent in their characters.
Absolutely.
And that we really wish we could see a little sneak peek into the sexual tension between Sullivan and Sarge.
Oh.
Which is Scully's unofficial name as the sergeant who rolled over. Yeah. So a fanfic coming to you. Who the fuck is Melissa? We don't even know who she is anymore.
No.
Sorry. Bye, girl. It was nice.
You did great. You did great. And I think the only other thing that I can think that would be in that episode is how does Scully and Mulder, how does their relationship change, or what changes for Scully, at least on her end, when she gains this knowledge?
Yeah, because I think we both agreed that, like, canonically speaking, this was one of the most important episodes in the show.
Yeah, just not something that the public thinks about or acknowledges.
Yeah, which to me is kind of like bummer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's the most important to establishing what Mulder and Scully are, which is kind of what the X-Files is really about. That's why we tuned in.
Yeah, and like I think this episode perfectly communicates that their relationship transcends sexuality, like rigid sexuality and gender.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah.
So in conclusion, the
gay
incredibly queer as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
So perfect. Well, that was really fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I mean, that was our second first draft of
True.
the podcast.
True. This is our second first draft.
So we really hope to do more. If anybody ends up listening to this, I think it's a really good opportunity for listeners to get involved and tell us things that they think that could be gayer.
Please.
Yeah.
We're begging you.
Yeah. So outro. Thanks for listening.
Gay.
Gay.